Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we start jumping in and learning how to build bases and vignettes and villages, I think it's important to understand the type of tools that you're going to need to start these projects. They can range as simple as pencils and rulers, all the way to expensive foam cutters and hot wire tools that will make your life and your village making a whole lot simpler. So with that, let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the type of foam that you're going to use. Now I use, it's called XPS foam. It's extruded polystyrene foam. It's the kind that doesn't crinkle and break apart in your hand with the little beads. I've got the kind here, obviously I've cut this down from another project, but this is a 2-inch foam. You can get this at Home Depot or Lowe's. They come in 4x8 sheets. They can help you cut them down right there in the hardware store so they can fit in your car and so on. So don't worry about that. But this is the kind you want. If you see a close-up, it's not all the little balls of foam that go together. So it doesn't make too much of a mess. So this is the 2-inch. They also make this in a 1-inch. This is actually how it comes. This is the backing still on it. The other side has got the shiny backing. So when you see it in the store, ideally it'll be a 4x8 sheet like this sitting on a shelf or hanging up on the wall there in one of your hardware stores. This is the 1-inch variety, so I use 2-inch for the bigger bases, and then 1-inch usually for the base or the platform. Depends on what I'm making. And then the other type of foam that I use, and I actually prefer this one, but we live here in Arizona. It doesn't get real cold in the wintertime. And so we can only get this in the 1-inch variety. Now the reason I say that, most of this foam is used for insulating your homes to keep out the cold and the wetness and the dampness. And so here, they only stock in the store the 1-inch variety of this pink foam. As a matter of fact, I've never, they do sell it in 4x8 sheets. They just don't have it in stock here at any of the Home Depot or the Lowe's around here. So I buy this in a 2-foot by 2-foot sheet. I like it better because it holds the cuts better, you can engrave it better, and it just seems to do a much better job. So as you're picking your foam, you want to again use the XPS foam, the extruded polystyrene foam. This will give you the best results for any type of villages that you make. With that, let's learn how then we're going to cut the foam. Okay, so I've rearranged the camera here where you can see a little bit better down on the cutting board. That also would come in handy, certainly if you're going to be doing this on countertops or so on and so forth. Sometimes I'll cut out in the garage and just use the garage floor, but a couple of ways you can do this. One, these utility knives, I bought a box of these on Amazon, and I'll put links to everything that I'm talking about down in the bottom of the video there, so you can go directly to Amazon and see exactly what I purchased and how much it cost and so on and so forth. But you're certainly going to need something that's sharp and reliable to cut with. So I've got a couple of those out, and you can cut, especially the 1-inch variety, with just one of those tools, one of these blades. You'll need a good sturdy ruler, metal or plastic, either one would work. And essentially just mark your area where you're going to cut, and then take your blade and just go for it. It's pretty simple to cut, pretty easy to cut. It gives you a pretty clean surface, certainly not too bad, and you can clean that up with sandpaper, or you can just engrave right over it, however you want to do that. But that is one method of cutting, is just with one of these blades. Very inexpensive and simple, and so that is one way of cutting the foam. The way that I prefer to cut the foam now is a different way, and I found the Proxxon hot wire table. Let's take a look at that. Okay, here we are at the Proxxon hot wire table, and again I'll link this in the description below so you can see it. See the version that I purchased, and if you'd like to pick up one, it certainly makes your life a whole lot simpler. Now that I've used one of these, there's no way that I would go back to cutting foam any other way. And I think this is $139, I think, on Amazon right now. You can certainly get a lesser expensive type. They range in all varieties and all all price ranges. But I read a lot of reviews on this, watched a lot of YouTube videos on it, and it certainly works. A lot of folks were asking, how did I make this gate, this fence around the cemetery? And there's no way that I could have made this as quickly or as efficiently as I did. And it's all the pink XPS foam, the entire fence, other than the railing, which is plastic from, it's dollhouse fencing from, I believe it's myironworks.com. They have it on there. You can get it on eBay is where I found mine. But let me turn this on and show you how quickly it heats up. There's a temperature gauge here that goes from 0 to 6 to adjust your heat. For the pink styrofoam, I usually keep it somewhere between 3.5, or 4. Doesn't take very long at all to heat up. I'll cut this edge here that we cut with a blade. I'll cut that off. This gate is adjustable, and you can set it to any dimension or distance that you'd like. And you can see that it just simply slices. I know my hand is in the way, but that simply just slices right through it. That's the straight edge that you're left. That's the foam that was cut off. Simply amazing. For those of you who are asking about the stonework in the front of the cemetery, that's exactly how I did this. I would take foam about this thin. I would move the gate completely out of the way, and I would just simply take the foam and just kind of go through like this, very quickly, very easily. It doesn't have to be perfect. It certainly doesn't have to be pretty, because all you're doing is running these through there, just like so. It makes light work of just about anything you're trying to do, and then there you've got foam that you can piece together and put different ways to build your walkways or whatnot, and go through just like that. So this is a necessity, certainly for me. As much building as I've been doing, I would be lost without it. Again, once you try it, you'll never want to go back to cutting foam with anything but this. When you're making straight cuts, or precision is important to you. Let's take a look at some hot wire foam tools that I've got. It certainly makes your life a little bit easier there as well. Okay, a lot of folks have been asking me also, how do you do the detail work on the stones? How do you make the bricks? How do you make the stone work? How do you do that? There's a couple ways you can do that. One, just simply with a pen, and I'll show you that here in a moment. It works just fine. That's how I did the entire village that you see behind me. Before I had any of the hot wire tools, I used simply a pen, and that worked out fairly well. Today, I've picked up this kit from Hot Wire Foam Factory. This is a full-blown kit. It's got everything in it that you would need. I'll open it up and we'll go through it tool by tool. Okay, the first piece is the transformer. This plugs into the wall and then plugs into each individual tool. The cool part here is it's got a slider control here that goes from off all the way to high, very hot, and allows you to control the temperature of the tools that you're going to be using. The first tool, the one that everybody has probably seen, is the sculpting tool. These are all tangled up here, but this is pretty nice. It's got an on and off switch here, and then this will cut through the sides of your foam and allow you to carve in some cliff faces or rocks, or get that rugged look versus just a flat piece of foam. So certainly a good tool for that. The next piece is what I call the trencher tool. The good thing about this is this tool can be bent to any shape that you would like. The prongs can go back and forth, so you can do a lot with this tool. You can do you can cut stairs with this. You can shape this to the size of the stairs that you're trying to cut, and then use it to cut through stairs. Obviously, especially for spooky displays. The stairs don't have to be exactly perfect and straight, so this would be great just to go through and cut the stairs as you go through. You can also bend a corner of this for wire hiding. It's basically a trenching tool. You'll take it like this and go straight down through your foam and cut a smooth line just to trench some of the space for your wires to be hidden underneath. Obviously, you don't want to set the foam on top of the wires. So a great way to hide wires with this tool. You've got a medium-size flat tool here. This is one that essentially will cut small details into your project, will cut holes through your foam, and things like that. So a very good tool to have. Most people that get kits, regardless of where they get them from, will get one of these sculpting tools, and we'll get a small blade here like this. And then the last tool that comes in this kit is one of my favorites. It's the engraving tool. Looks almost like a pencil or a soldering iron tip. The good part about this is how I do all my brickwork now. This makes smooth work of it. And certainly I'd be lost without this. This saves a ton of time. This is a great tool to have. And again, I'll link all of this in the description below. So if you're interested, pick up some tools. The way I look at it, guys, is for the price of one of the Department 56 homes or a nice Lemax home, you can have yourself some tools that will take your villaging to a whole nother level. So up to you how you want to do that. I'm going to show you both, and as we go through the tutorials, I can kind of go back to the beginning and show you some of the earlier ways that I did to do that if you think it'll help you. But for the most part, I want to be sticking to these tools. It's the reason I bought them, and it certainly makes a lot quicker work, and in my opinion, it's a lot better in the end when it's done. So let me plug a couple of these in and kind of demonstrate what they do for you, and we'll go from there. Okay, so the first tool that I want to show you is the trenching tool. All right, this tool is great for hiding wires. It's great for making large bricks. If you're doing a large wall display, this can also be used to cut grout lines. You can mold this to about any shape you'd like. But right now I've got it molded for the trenching tool. If I was going to hide some wires underneath this foam, if this was my base, it's as simple as this, guys. You essentially cut right through. Makes quick work of it. You bring it out, and now you've got a line for your cords to go through. Now, obviously, you would want to do that the full length, but I'm just doing this as a demonstration, and you can see how that looks. You can go certainly as deep as you would like. You can take it all the way up to right next to the top of the foam if you'd like. Cut right through there. Again, you can make these trenches as small or as big as you need to accommodate whatever wires you got. So that is the engraving tool. Okay, the next tool that I want to show you is the sculpting tool. You're probably familiar with this tool, but this is where you do your edge work of your foam. You essentially just start at one edge and just kind of go through, back, forward. There's really no science to it. You can go back or forward as far as you want or you think you need. It's sort of really there's no set way to do this. Pull this off, you see how that looks. You flip your piece over and you do the exact same thing on the other side. And then once you finish this will be the edge of your base. If you want it to appear rocky or like a cliff or anything like that, this is how you would do that. Again, you pull that off and then you look at your base, and it's really that quick and that simple. It's pretty straightforward, not a lot of work, pretty good results. And then obviously you need to clean it up a little bit and then throw some paint on it, and you are good to go. So that is the sculpting tool if you're trying to make rocks or things like that. Let's go on to the next tool, which is the engraving tool, which is one of my favorites. Okay, onto the engraving tool. Now this is how I do most of my brickwork today. I'll show you the old method here with a pencil. after this, but this is how I do it today. It's so much easier this way. So essentially, if I'm going to make a brick wall out of this, I'll start here, come straight across with one line, come straight across with two lines, okay, and then start adding in the brickwork. Usually start, doesn't matter really where. But it goes pretty quick. It's simple to do. I cut a little deeper now because it holds the paint better, especially as you go to wash it at the end with the black wash. It really coats into these crevices and looks more like a grout line. So that's a brick, pretty simple. If you're gonna do the top part of the wall, which obviously for detail purposes, I recommend you do. Same concept, you can go over a couple of times and then just connect your original lines. And as quick and as simple as that, you've got a pretty good brick wall that's going to hold a lot of detail, certainly when it's painted. So hopefully that helps you. This is a great tool to do that with. Let's look at the straight knife used for cutting holes and trimming up edges. Okay, so we've got the straight tool now, the straight knife. If I was going to use this tool, this will also do detail work. If you wanted to do bricks here, you could certainly use this tool. I like the other one, the engraving tool, better, but this tool will certainly work. The key is to let the tool do the work for you. Don't force it. These will ultimately break if you do that. Let the tools work, but you certainly, as I can demonstrate here, you could certainly do brickwork with that as well. If I needed to set a house or an accessory up on this and I wanted to hide my cord, the easiest way to do that for me is simply poke this through, cut my circle out. Again, just go slow, let the tool do the work. Don't rush it, don't force it. You can adjust the height of the tool as you go around, or the depth of the tool to get a better burn. These things will smoke as they're cutting foam, so I'm doing this in the house now, but sometimes I'll do this in the garage as well. And then there you go, there's a hole to put your cords down through, and then again you would use your trenching tool on the back side of this to trench this all the way to the back and then run your cord all the way down there. So these are the tools that I use today for 99.9% of the villaging that I do. They come in incredibly handy. I'm so thankful I bought them. I haven't regretted it once. Again, for the price of a house, a small house, a Department 56 house or a Lemax house, you can get these tools that'll make your life a whole lot easier. Let me show you the older way of doing the brickwork with a pencil. While we're here, you might as well see that, and then that way, hopefully that'll help you. Okay, if you're gonna do normal brickwork with a pencil or a pen, it's a really simple method as well. It works, it's what I used to build the entire village that you saw. And so the easiest way to describe this is simply slowly draw lines. Now this foam flakes, and so you just have to kind of go with that and understand that. But once it's painted, it certainly will look like brickwork. It makes more of a mess, as you can see. It's not nearly as fun. It's a little more aggravating, certainly makes a bigger mess. However, you certainly can do this. Now this is with the white XPS foam and not the pink. The pink works a lot better. and I'll demonstrate that here in a minute as well. So that's enough there. We'll just kind of demonstrate how you do the brickwork here. Same methodology, just several, go over it several times to get the layers right, to get the depth right. And then once you clean this up, surprisingly, and paint it, it actually doesn't look too bad. I like the pink foam to do this with better, but you can see that is certainly, it'll look like brick when you're done with it. If you want to do that, now here's the comparison. Here's the hot wire foam tool that we used. Let me do brick with a pencil or a pen on this layer here, just to compare. This is a little simpler. I like working with the pink foam so much better. It doesn't shed, it doesn't fall apart, it doesn't crumble. You can make these notches fairly big. You can see I went through it just a couple of times, and then you can really deepen them up. Just kind of just lightly at first, try to get the straight line. And then once you have your straight line, you can really, I mean, I've got that in pretty far there to get that indentation the way it needs to look. Okay, and then the same concept, right? If you wanted to continue this brickwork here, you would just continue the same methodology. And this is the village that's behind us that you've seen a few times already, is all this pink XPS foam. So it works so much better. But again, they only sell it in 1-inch size, at least here where I'm at. And so if I want anything bigger than that, I've got to go with the white foam. When you use tools on it, it doesn't really matter because it melts the foam just like the pink foam. It doesn't make nearly as much a mess. It looks really good, honestly, with the hot wire tools. And then you just continue to go through this and do the brickwork. As you can see, guys, that looks pretty good. It's not bad at all. You can see the difference there with the tool versus the pencil. Both work. Both will get you the results you're going for, especially if you're going to use the pink foam. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about this evening is the cobblestone and how I get that onto the platforms. There's two methods that I use. The first, and certainly more time sensitive, time draining method, is a tool that I made. It is essentially the barrel end of a paintbrush where the hairs come out. I took all those out. This was starting to hurt my finger. I was using it so much on the other platform, so I took some hot glue and glued that as sort of a cushion, and then shaped the end of it to what I thought would be a good-looking cobblestone effect. It works really well on this, and so if you're going to use this method to do your cobblestone, you could do it with a pencil as well. You could certainly go through and trace the cobblestones if you wanted. That also would work. It may be actually simpler to do. The method that I used was take this and you just push it in over and over, different angles to give you a different effect. It does start to hurt your finger after a while, but it also gives you a pretty cool cobblestone effect. And then you go through and you paint all of that, and it looks really, really well. The method that I use, and let me show you the foam, not the foam, but the foil technique to kind of get the texture on this. Okay, so for that effect, you essentially take a piece of tin foil, wad it up, and then roll it right across this foam. Okay, right across the cobblestones that you just made. You can also use a rock. I've seen other folks use a rock or anything with a texture on it, you just kind of roll it all over your foam. And you want to do this anywhere there is a textured effect, a sidewalk, a wall, the road, the street. If you're going to make it like this, certainly works a lot better. But so you just continue to do this. Roll it along, smash it around. You can turn it over, use different edges, different techniques. But when it's all done, this is great for concrete effect. If you don't have cobblestones and you just have this, you can kind of see how that looks. And then you go through and you paint this, especially with the little indentations for your cobblestone. Once you wash it with a black wash, it really makes this stand out and pop. It looks a little bit different. But you can see the texturing effect for the concrete. It looks great. I use these a lot as I was building this gate or this fence. You can also take your knife and take a little pieces. Now this one's not very sharp, but you essentially just kind of carve to give it some of those old looks. And then when you paint it and then you highlight it, that's the texturing that you get on some of those areas right there. You see a big chunk missing out there, but it looks just like rock. Gives it that old weathered effect. And so that's how you do that. The tinfoil trick works amazingly well. The method, now this was the first method that I used for doing the cobblestone. I still enjoy this. This is fun. It looks really, really good. But I have found a much easier method, and this is the cobblestone that I use now. It's a lot easier, right? It is Department 56. It is a rolled matting. It comes rolled up in I think it's a 5-inch section by, I think you get 8 or 10 feet, 15 feet of this per roll. I'll put a link to this in the description as well, but I'm building the Peanuts vignette, and so I didn't need the full 5 inches on that because the shelf that I'm going to put that piece on is pretty narrow. And so in order to get everything in the yard and still have it look the way I wanted, I had to cut this down a little bit. Simply cut this with scissors, measure it, draw a straight line on the back of it, and cut it out with scissors. You take white Elmer's glue, smear that all over the area where you're going to lay this, lay it down, smooth it flat, walk away, and you're done. It looks really, really good. So 2 methods for doing cobblestone roads. They also make this in brick, so you could certainly do a brick road if you wanted, or you could trace out with a pen or with another tool that you would make similar to this as a brick pattern and use it that way. So guys, those are the basic tools that I use to do the villaging. I hope this was useful to you. I hope it answered some of the basic questions that you had. Next video, we're going to focus on really how to start designing a piece, what you look at, the measurements and so on to get the perfect layout in your design that you're looking for. So until next time, you guys take care. We'll talk to you soon.